girls, welcome back to the Transnation eSports Tier 1 coverage here in Azerbaijan. Sorry about that brief little interruption there, as we did have, when I got booted from the lobby, it also apparently just decided to shut the stream off as well. So that is why it got so abruptly cut off. But regardless, we are back. Everything is set up, and we are going back to racing. Reminder for anybody that has not experienced a lobby issue like this before, any driver that does not start the race on the same compound of tire that they qualified on, if you're in the top 10, will face a 30-second post-race time penalty. So you don't want to be caught putting the wrong compound of tire on your car. You also want to make sure that you set the proper setup that catches always somebody out every single time in this. Make sure that you have the proper setup fitted onto your car as well as the proper tires. As we're back, where the drivers are going to get their time to properly do that. As we get ready for the actual start of this Grand Prix. We actually did have a driver drop out as well. Daniel Hernandez, LD Joker. Turns out he's not going to be racing with us this evening. He initially qualified P6, but citing internet issues and some of the lag that he was experiencing, he is not going to be opting to participate in this race. We're actually down to 13 drivers now, unfortunately. But that is not going to stop us. We're going to keep going here. Truck on. And see what we can get done, or see how this race runs. What's going to be interesting to see is how the weather does come into play. There was, of course, rain forecast for the end of the race. I don't know exactly at what point the game had that forecast for, but let's fire it up here. And well, Albert sure has fired it up. He got off to a start like, oh, hello, Harry. That's not good. Harry and Josh, both of them not starting on the correct compound of tire. That is a massive, massive mistake. A game changer for those drivers, as they will face 30-second time penalties at the end of this race. So unless if there is a glitch in the way that I'm seeing this, which that would be I mean, tire glitches are known to be around alive and well in this game. That is bad news for Harry and for Josh, where, you know, they just might have been caught out with the limited amount of time that they have to set their strategy setups, make sure they have the right tires on it, the tires for the stint. It always seems to catch somebody out, and it has caught these guys out here today, and it's going to cost them. Josh is competing for a championship here, and this is a big mistake that he has made. What happened to Daniel Hernandez? He was experiencing internet issues in qualifying. He said that the level of lag between him and some of the other drivers was very high. I think he believes it's his own internet, and he opted to sit this one out. But I mean, that probably was one of his best qualifying sessions of the season for Daniel. So that is going to mean that everyone from Zach on down is going to move up a grid slot. So Zach P6, Michael P7, Steen P8, Mackenzie P9, and Ken Doyle will now round out the top 10. Of course, Ken Doyle does not. He's allowed to fit the medium tires, as that's what he would have been starting the Grand Prix on, and just unfortunate for Daniel that the internet issues there are preventing him from racing. Regardless, though, we're about to start this race here today in Azerbaijan. Let's just hope that the lights start up. Oh yeah, here we go. The lights are building, revs are building here, and we're off and away. Albert Ramirez Garcia gets a good start. He ducks down to block Josh into turn one. Oh, Josh got loose. A bit of a tank slapper coming off the corner. Oh, no, there's definitely a car in the fence. That looks like Ken Doyle had a bit of an issue on that restart, as he has wing damage as well. So he has dropped down a bit, as we see Mackenzie making a move on Harry. Harry, of course, making the mistake there and starting on the hard compound tire. That's not what you want to be doing. But Andrew Lee getting past Josh Banks here very, very early, and now sets his sights on Albert for P1. So a little bit of an advantage, I guess you could say, for all of these drivers now, is it may actually, it may change up what their strategy was. Getting the sort of couple extra laps of, oh, who was that? Was that Josh? Almost saw him go into the wall there, it looked like. That wing does remain intact. So we see now these pit stop strategies. So this really might bring the one stop into play here for lots of these drivers. Just getting the benefit of having the extra lap or two of usable soft tire might do them very, very good, but that remains to be seen. We'll see how that plays out throughout this race here. Andrew Lee is stalking Albert right now. Of course, without the aid of DRS, it's pretty hard for him to make a move going into turn one. He just has the slipstream to use right now, but what? DRS is enabled. I didn't even realize this was lap 3 already. Am I crazy? Did I fall asleep? No. As we do see a battle here going on for P4. That's Andrew Honda, as the amazing camera views the Codemasters gives me. Holy. Andrew does get by Josh to move into P4, and oh my, okay, this is, it says Mackenzie is the leader, but oh, it's going to be another one of these races, eh? Thank you, Codemasters. Just for clarification here, Albert is still, oh my goodness, these drivers to the castle section. They play it tight through there, as we do have a yellow flag in sector 3. That's in the castle section. Who was it? Many drivers involved. Lots of front wings blown around, as Josh Banks is missing end plates. I believe Harry might have been caught up in this as well. No, he might look okay. But Josh for sure. Did Zach get any damage from that? Oh yeah, he did. He's missing an end plate. So drivers getting caught up in the castle section. Are we going to see a path to the lead here? Just entering DRS. Andrew's not opening the DRS, is he? He wasn't close enough for it, I suppose? Or no, it was a glitch. Okay, so now is actually lap 3, so now DRS should actually be enabled. Goodness me, what is going on with this game today? Now Andrew has DRS and he's going to use it. We see Zach and Josh are both into the pits. Ken Doyle did make a pit stop, and was Josh putting on the mediums, or did he? I don't know. Anyways, back to this battle for the lead. So there's a few good passing opportunities here. around this circuit, but none really as good as the two long DRS zones in the first, well, in Sector 3, and of course the one in Sector 1 as well. Nothing really compares to those, so it's really about buying your time and being patient to set yourself up for a good run out of turn 16 and where you go full out through the very high speed, technically they're called turns, but 17, 18, 19, and 20. Just like we're heading into right now. Taking a quick peek at the YouTube comments. Yes, Bojan, Ted Kravitz is officially still fired. Our pit lane reporter doesn't know what the weather is going to do, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what the weather is going to do here, seeing as the weather is manually being set after the grid glitch that we had. Is Andrew going to make a move into turn 1? No, he's just going to stay in behind Albert here. Andrew with considerably more ERS than Albert has, so that is going to aid him. Didn't get a great exit off the corner, did Andrew, though, and that's going to cost him, perhaps cost him an opportunity to make a pass here as the drivers head into turn 3. A little bit of jostling further back. Izzat and Stin side by side right now. I don't even know who has ERS. Izzat on the inside on the mediums. He's going to take that position away. Nicely done as he moves up into P7. Harry settling in nicely. Of course, he will be facing a 30-second time penalty at the conclusion of this race. So, for fitting the wrong tires. We head back to this battle at the front. The best battle probably on track is right here, and this is between Andrew Lee and Albert Ramirez Garcia. They come out of turn 16, and it's hammer time as overtake being utilized by these drivers getting to get going. Ooh. Andrew with a moment, but Andrew's going to make this pass going before even the DRS zone. So that is just going to help Andrew get further down the road as he is going to take over the lead of this race. Andrew Lee into P1. What happened to Josh Banks? So Josh, of course, at the beginning of this race was one of the two drivers that set the wrong compound of tire. He started on the hards, and his car certainly did not agree with that with those tires. He wound up, I believe there was an incident in the castle section that involved a few drivers. Zach falling into that as well. And as there's a battle actually between Zach and Josh taking place on track right now. So both of those drivers have made pit stops. They're now back out on track, having fixed their damage, running in P11 and 12. Of course, Josh still facing that 30-second time penalty as well. So Albert not letting Andrew get too far ahead here. He's currently sticking within DRS range, which is really what you need to do around here. Andrew does have an edge in ERS that he's able to deploy, but as they make their way down to the long front straightaway here. And we're going to check in on this battle here that's brewing for P3 between Mackenzie Stewart. What an amazing start Mackenzie has had. He is now in the battle for P3 here with Andrew. And not too far behind him is Michael Garone Jr. Don't forget about that man. If there is rain that's going to be coming here towards the end of this session, that is certainly a man to look out for. Speaking of Michael, he's into the pits. So maybe trying a bit of an undercut here. I believe this is a planned pit stop. Oh, no, he is doing a wing change, which didn't look like there was any end plates missing from that. But he is going to get that fixed up and be on his way. Josh Banks sets the fastest lap of the session, and what happened to Albert? Oh my goodness, he's missing a massive chunk of that wing. And Albert Ramirez Garcia, in the process of trying to hang with Andrew, may have just thrown away a potential, I mean, it's still very early here, but a potential good finish here. He's just got to, he's a lot of this track left to go, including the castle section. This is a tricky enough section to get through with full wing on, never mind missing basically half your wing. As we are just keeping an eye on Albert here. So the pit stop window is going to open up here momentarily. As, again, just keeping an eye on Albert here. He's about to fall into the hands of Harry Lillis. I imagine he's going to pop into the pits here. The question is, does he opt for a two-stop and set the medium compound tires, or does he try and go to the end with the hards? I don't believe he could go to the end on the mediums. That would be a long ways to make those last. As he dives into the pits. Drivers will pick up a few positions here. Well, we have a momentary lapse here. Just going to send... We might get another guest in the comm box here in the form of Mr. Brett Keenan himself. Let's see. Sorry, folks, just needed to find Brett, so fire him an invite. So the invite is off for him, so hopefully he will be able to join us when he arrives home. Of course, from his birthday celebrations, otherwise he would have been participating in this race himself. So should be nice to get another commentator up here in the box. Only 4 of the drivers who've started on the soft compounds are still out there running on them. Of course, lap 7 here, we're going to start to see these guys come into the pits. Are we going to see Andrew Lee blink? Is he going to come into the pits here? Riding on board with him right now. Looks like he's going to do another lap. He is. Of course, he is 11.5 seconds ahead of Mr. Andrew Honda. So it's an Andrew 1-2 right now here in Baku. Mackenzie's into the pits. So he is going to be, he is going to blink, and Steen is also going to come into the pits here. So that is going to leave just 2. Harry Lillis going to need some help here. He's done actually a very good job on those hard tires to fend off the drivers, not only that started on the softs, but also the ones that have that started this race on the mediums. He's done a good job to keep them behind him, despite being on the slowest compound tire. Whether that was intentional or not on his part at the start of this race, that remains to be seen. But I imagine this lap, then, we're probably going to see the Andrews, both of them probably come into the pits. Those softs are probably not going to be feeling too great there, as we see Andrew Lee lock up a little bit there, going into the eSports corner. Of course, that's turn 15. He's winding it up now for the long front straightaway. But, I mean, other than the lobby not really starting up, it's been a fairly uneventful race so far. A couple drivers having some encounters with the wall, which has been unfortunate, as we are going to see Andrew come into the pits here. So he dives in. I imagine that we're going to see the other Andrew Honda, do the same. He is leaning towards that side of the track, and it looks like he is going to come in. It's a very high-speed entry to pit lane here. And that is going to give the lead of this race to Harry Lillis. So, oh no, it's not a battle for the lead actually between Harry and Izzat, but actually Andrew gets out in front of both of them. So Andrew is going to get out and retain the race lead here. He opted for the medium compound tire, so I wonder if he's going to try for the two-stop here, or if he thinks that he can make those tires last till the end. Well, that remains to be seen. Only 17 laps. The yellow flag in Sector 1. Was that? That's a Mercedes. That's Harry. Harry has escaped damage, but that is going to kill his race. As if the 30-second penalty didn't kill it enough. He did escape without any wing damage, and he also escaped doing a Ragunathan. Of course, famously in that, I believe it was in that turn 2 runoff area where Mr. Ragunathan found himself doing a loop around. Actually, could have been turn 3, I don't really remember. And I also don't really remember where Harry did it. But regardless, he's back going currently in P7. Couple of drivers starting to make their way back up through the field after early incidents. We have Zach Hockmeyer here. Dillagaff, of course. He is in 10th position right now after he had an early incident in the castle section, as he got caught up in something with, I believe, Josh Banks, who has, of course, that 30-second time penalty looming over him, but he is currently motoring around in P8. Josh Banks, of course, is currently second in our championship standings. And with Andrew leading this race and Josh still having to face the time penalty, Andrew's probably going to be looking pretty good after this race here today. Izzat doing a nice job running in P2 right now, 4.6 seconds behind our race leader. And Ethan Lossing, you know, we haven't even said a word about him all weekend long, as through qualifying and through the race. This is just what Ethan does. Ethan, just a model of consistency, and that's really all that you need to do around here in Baku. Just, you know, keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble, and you're going to be on for a good finish. And he has done a good job here today at doing that. Righty, here. So the field is pretty spread out. We actually do have Josh Banks closing in on Harry Lillis here. This is a battle for P7 on the track, and also a battle between our two 30-second time penalty drivers, as Harry gets a little bit of a tank slapper there coming out of, I believe that is turn 19. I say turn 19 with air quotes around it. As Josh is able to make the move going into turn 1, and he takes P7 away from Harry. So Josh is looking to just get on with it here. See what he can do. Of course, no drivers have retired from this race, kind of surprisingly. I might have expected... I mean, it's still very early. I guess, actually, we're almost at the halfway point of this race here, so... maybe a little bit surprising, yeah, that we haven't seen any retirements here, but drivers have been pretty good about keeping their nose clean and keeping it out of the wall. As the lineup is starting here, Michael Garone Jr. now going to be looking to get around Harry. This is a battle now for P8. Of course, Michael being plagued by an early pit stop as well. He is trying to battle his way back up. He's not going to want to waste too much time behind. He doesn't want to lose touch with Josh. So He's going to look to make a move. Harry's not going to have DRS down the front straightaway here. Of course, Michael and Zach, that's Dilligaff there, right behind him. This should be this is a good battle. Of course, a battle between. Oftentimes, these two compete against each other in the Monday night U.S. regional division. So, they're going into turn one, all three of them. And we have Brett Keenan that has joined the comm box. Brett, I'm going to get you an invite to this session. As I don't believe, I think I must have forgot to do that. But yeah, we do welcome the one and only Brett Keenan into the comm box. So, Brett, welcome. Oh, as we come back to... Oh, my goodness, that's going to be a safety car, perhaps, as that's a Mercedes of Harry Lillis. He got T-boned by... I don't know who it was. Was it Albert, perhaps? But, no, it wasn't Albert. Somebody T-boned him, and that's unfortunate for Harry. But yes, of course, Brett Keenan is joining us up here in the comm box. Brett, I guess a little bit bittersweet. I'm sure you would have loved to be racing out here today, but I mean, it's almost better to be up here. The view from the comm box is great.
The general circumstances would be, I would be more likely to be inclined to be in the action itself, but family circumstances kind of take away a little bit of it. Not that I resent the idea of it, it's just kind of the timing was a bit poor, so kind of had no choice in a way. But it happens from time to time, and it just kind of pushes my 100th race now to Japan, which I'm not overly oh no, it won't be Japan, it'll be USA. I was looking forward to Russia being my 100th race, but yeah, going to USA is not going to go well. But no, the action's pretty intense here. You just said something about Harry being T-bone. Looks like he's still on the race, but
yeah. I think with Harry getting T-boned, that's maybe where some more realistic damage on some of these cars, just not having. Although, they might have introduced some rear wing damage this year, or they at least introduced the ability to break rear tires, because I don't think that was in the game last year.
I think it was common. I think it was common in previous games. I just think it's the construction model for the rear wheels coming off is a lot more prominent in this game. The rear wing aspect, I think, should be really something, because drivers do break their rear wings in actual races. They can dislodge them. The DRS obviously breaks, so it's kind of tough.
True.
But I'm finding it interesting. I was having a look obviously at the qualifying while I was at my family's, and yeah, Mackenzie had a shocking qualifying, only P10.
Yeah, he didn't have a great qualifying session, but right now Mackenzie he's on for a good podium position here. He's technically P2 on track right now. Once these drivers come in front of him, so he has had an absolute flyer of a start.
And he's also right on the back of Faith too, so he might be able to get a position up before they make their pit stops as well. So yeah, interesting. So I know you did pay mention that Josh was one of the two drivers that was caught under the pit tyre mishap. Who was the other?
Harry Lillis. Unfortunately, he is still on the same tires I believe that he started this race with, despite the laps not necessarily adding up on that. He did start on the hards. Oh, now it adds up, I believe. So he did start on the hards along with Josh, and so that's going to cost them post-race here.
Well, we're having a look into this rule because we do think a 30-second penalty is a bit steep, but I think what we're going to be changing the rule for Season 7 is that you'll have two options. So the first option is that if you start on the wrong tyre, you to immediately pit on lap 1 to go onto the tyre that you were originally meant to start with. Otherwise, then you take a 30-second penalty from there. So you get a chance to rectify your mistake, otherwise you then just get the slap on the smack across the head. As Mackenzie's actually now alongside Faith, and Faith actually decides not to contest there because it's a very dangerous corner to be going side by side through.
That it is. Yeah, that's Mackenzie's going to be pleased with that as he wants to probably put as much time behind him as he can, as much of a bumper as he can put to Mr. Andrew Honda in piece currently in P7, but would filter through to be probably third once pit stops and everything cycles through. So.
Yeah, so it's a different variation of strategy because I'm not 100%. I didn't see quite the end of qualifying. Did it end up going wet, or was it still classified as dry?
No, it was a dry qualifying. They actually never rolled out with intermediate tires. All drivers qualified on softs throughout the session. A little bit early on, it was a sparse qualifying. Not too many people were out there, but for this, so everybody started on the tires that they qualified on. One of the interesting aspects, though, is there's supposed to be rains forecast for the end of this race.
Yeah, that's right. They did make mention of that.
So should be interesting to see when that starts to come into play. I see the skies are still fairly light blue, so that gives me question as to when it's going to cloud over, but that remains to be seen. We'll see how drivers deal with that when that time rolls around.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting kind of tiers because obviously now that I'm racing in it, you kind of you know that you're not near. Well, at my point, I've got a sector 2. That's no, it's just a local yellow. Oh, actually, no, it's not.
Is that in the castle section? Is that Zach?
That's Zach Hockamy. He's going in backwards.
Oh, virtual safety car. The virtual safety car light is flashing on track, but it hasn't come up on screen for us.
No. Yeah, he's gone in backwards. He's going up backwards because he's gone full 360. He's got no front wing, so he's made a bit of a meal of the castle section, which it can do. And I was saying to Michael this morning in commentary for Tier 1, it's like the last thing you want to do is go into the castle section, hit the wall, and then wedge yourself in between it because you'd be doing the Austin Powers point turning to get out, and usually by then you get disqualified. So Zach's been lucky, and
it's
actually pit.
Yeah, this is his first pit stop of the race.
Yeah, so my teammate who missed Monaco looking to try and get some back at Azerbaijan, obviously. If you're listening, I did score us points, so that's something.
He's onto the softs. What do you think on that? That's 10 laps is a long way to drag those softs, unless if we're convinced on that rain coming, and he thinks
exactly. It's a tricky prospect. Sorry. 7 laps is usually the distance on a starting soft tyre, and that's with the account of a qualifying and formation lap and an out lap. So 10 laps could be the expected number to get to the end on the soft, but you don't really want to push the boundary too much. He's come out behind Michael, obviously my former commentator. It's the degradation around the circuit is so different in the way where the rear tyres cop more of a hit than the fronts. Usually most tracks you take more of a hit from the front tyres because the loads obviously are a lot more compound to the front tyre, but around here obviously you've got the white painted lines, all the markings and all that, so the rear tyres slide up a bit more. So it's harder for the driver. Is it as demonstrated? Is it almost sliding himself into the barrier?
Battle for P5.
Ooh, yeah, it is too. So Honda's just cleared Faith, but I think if you go back, because I think Izza is going to make a move here on Michael, and Michael doesn't actually fight. He actually just pulls over and says, "It's yours."
Yeah, there's not really any fighting that Michael would be able to do there. He's not going to have DRS, and that was an easy position take for Izzat there, who's on those fresh softs. So Izzat's done well on that strategy to drag those mediums out to the point where he did, and give him the opportunity to finish the race on the softs. Be interesting to see if those tires hold up and if the rain actually ends up coming. As we do have still two drivers. You're saying
it yourself. It doesn't look like. I mean, like, there is the notion of a few little dark clouds hovering around the track area, but in reality it's not. Doesn't look like it would threaten over. My proposal is going to be like maybe lap 24 by the point that it will be absolutely useless to pit for intermediates unless it was such a dump that it went from absolutely grippy to nothing in the space
Yeah.
of a couple of corners.
Yeah, that would. I feel like that might be might not be in line for that. Well, I mean, we'll see though. The rain model in this game seems to be a very slow ease into it, as opposed to in some instances where you can see torrential downpours. We're just looking at the battle right now between Andrew Honda and Faith, who is this is the battle for P5 right now. Andrew has the much fresher tires. Um, Actually, I would imagine that Faith might actually be diving into the pits here on this lap. 16 laps on the mediums is a long time to go. But
Honda wasn't sure about what he was going to do there.
Yeah, and they're side by side going into turn 1. I think Andrew's going to take this position. He is. So
But that's weird though, because I could have sworn that they had already swapped positions the lap prior. So Faith must have got him back somewhere.
Perhaps those mediums for Faith are not as bad as we think they might be. But what this has done is Izzat has closed right up on these guys now. He's just 2 seconds behind the rear of Faith, and I imagine with Izzat being on those fresh softs, he is going to make quick work out of these two.
So right now, based on the idea of the 30-second penalty for Josh, I'm just trying to figure out, crunch the numbers here, just to sort of gauge where he would end up. Right now, he would end up in just a 9th. He'd just be ahead of no, he would be out of the points. Or no, actually no, he would just sit 10th because Harry's obviously a minute off the lead.
Yeah, he would slot in there just behind or in front of Shin. As
hang on, hold on. Is it up the inside at Faith through the fast sweeper? Whoa, that's
a bold strategy, Cotton.
If I was in Faith, I'd be checking my underwear right now. Although, in saying that actually, who was it? There was an accident in the Tier 1 race. Can't remember who the driver was now, but
we're gonna have a battle for P3 here. Actually, that is Josh Banks going around the outside of Ethan Lossing for position. Josh is going to get that position and moves up currently into P3, but of course that 30-second penalty will bump him down considerably.
So my idea would be that if Josh gets close enough to Mackenzie could play a bit of a team game here. Let Josh go ahead so that Josh could pull out a gap so that when he does get this 30-second penalty, it won't hurt him. For Harry, it's kind of like he's out of the points as it is. Safety car could bring it all back. That's the one thing right now Josh will be hoping and praying that we don't see, and that's a safety car, because if it does, that's his race over. He'll be bottom of the tree.
Yeah, that would spell disaster for Mr. Josh Banks here. But a man that we have not talked much about at all this race, except when he made the pass for the lead. He started P3 today. That's Mr. Andrew Lee, currently with a 20-second lead on Mackenzie Stewart. He's just acing the field here today, and looking to, he's going to extend, he's going to get a lot of championship points and just further extend that lead. Let's browse back down through the field where we've spread out a little bit. Lots of cars are just out of DRS range.
Sorry, I was just having a read through the Discord. I noticed a particular post from Josh Banks saying, "Make sure you start on the proper tyre."
Uh-oh.
He's gone and done this himself.
Well,
oh boy,
that's meme material right there. If you've ever seen it. As we have a battle here for P8 between Albert Ramirez Garcia and Michael Garone Jr. Maybe the two longest named drivers here on the grid here this afternoon or today. As Albert,
at least we don't have Thierry Delani Debetsvaka in here.
Thankfully we don't, because that's a mouthful to.
Well, he could be in Tier 1 next season too. Keep in mind, so you'll have fun with that.
Man. I thought I was done calming him last season. I
don't know what happened to Albert. What happened? I mean, he just
Albert had
So,
he had something happen. We wasn't able to catch it on stream, but he looked to be hanging with Andrew pretty closely, and unfortunately for him, he just lost it at some point and lost half of his wing. So that's
I
really
wonder if he
been
maybe lost it at castle section.
yeah, that really is that's been what's defined his race so far, and
Oh, he's going to
unfortunately
make a
for him.
move here on Faith, is he? No. I wouldn't really go there, to be honest. You can do it. I mean,
Definitely wouldn't go in the castle section.
no.
Can you even fit two cars through there?
Um.
Oh yeah, we saw two cars getting through there when in the Noah or in the assist tier 1 race when there was a car spun around in there.
Yeah. So Oliver had to kind of push Theodore out of the way, and he was quite filthy about it because he got a 5-second penalty for the initial driving into him, and then got another 5-second because he took it. Oh, Albert thinking about a move, and then.
So what dance?
It's actually paid off because Faith hesitated so much, and actually, yeah, Michael with the Stephen Bradbury has actually taken advantage of that.
Yeah. Good for Michael.
I think Faith's tyres will be dead by now.
Yeah, can we just have a conversation about that? Like 19 laps on the mediums? I am shocked that.
Well, I remember Oliver taking in the Tier 1 race this morning, he took his tyres 20 laps. But obviously that was because he didn't want to serve that second 5-second stop-go penalty for contact, and the safety car probably did help him. And that's probably one of the things, because I don't know if you've had Virgil, I don't know if you've had a full course yellow.
We actually didn't have a virtual, so that was something weird. On the electrical signs that are on the side of the track, it was displaying VSC. But it was never given a VSC to us. It was just a localized yellow, so just one of those things.
So this is 20 laps now on solid medium tyre, and the same for Ethan. So I know Michael was saying earlier this morning that the mediums don't have as much of a drop off as the softs, but after like the composed strategy is supposed to be lap 7 on the softs and then from 7 to 26 on the medium, so that's roughly about 20 something laps as it is. So they'll be on the window now. So Izzet's on the podium. Actually, Izzet's on the podium.
Well, here's something to toss into this too, Brett. I don't know if you smell it, but I can smell the storm a-coming. The sun is gone. It's clouded over. It's getting a little bit dark. It's just a matter of time before this rain sets in.
What did I say? Lap 24. So I'm pretty close to it.
Rain flashed across my screen momentarily.
Yep, there's the rain graphic has made its appearance. So 2 laps short.
It's starting to spit out on the track right now. This is going to be, whoa, as we see a battle going into turn 1 here. Michael Garone Jr. made the move on Ethan. So this has been brilliantly played by Izzat and even Ethan to a certain extent to just run these tires as long as they possibly could. Faith as well to maintain those tires, and they're going to be able to transition onto the intermediates.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a there's a bit of a catch-22 on it, because obviously, based on the situation like this, everyone has to pit for the intermediate. Well, would have to pit for the intermediates as well. For Izzet, it's paid off a lot more because he's come on the soft and he's gained ground. But for Ethan and for Faith, they've lost massive ground. They've lost like nearly half the positions that they were at when I came into the session. So for them, they've extended their reach, which is good, but they're just losing position after position. Very soon, oh, actually, no, that might be safe from Stin, because obviously his softs will be off the cliff now. What happened to Ken? He's been at the back of the field the whole race.
Yeah, Ken had a first lap incident, and he's just kind of hampered him this entire race here, unfortunately for him.
In fact, Ken's going intermediates.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it looks to be, it's raining. Like, it's actually proper raining right now. When are we going to see these guys come in? Looks like Izzat is thinking about it. He's coming in.
Mackenzie's in.
Yep. So the second and third place drivers are both coming into the pits.
Ooh, so I know he's got the gap for it, but has Andrew made a bit of a critical error here by staying out an extra lap? Because everyone else seems to be diving in.
He had such a large gap that I don't think it's going to end up hurting him.
I just
The
wonder what the diminishing effect is. Oh, and okay, so we just lost Stin, but he
that's
has completed 75%, so he'll still be registered. It's just obviously he might lose a spot.
But I think, I mean, he is going very, very, very slowly through this track, so he could lose considerable time as a result of this. And those tires, those mediums, are suffering right now. Of course, he can't keep the heat in them. It's just for Andrew right now. If he gets it back to the pits in one piece, he's going to be good. He
I mean,
has
with a 45-second gap, you could almost take the risk of not actually pitting at all, but
that
it's a bit touch and go.
Yeah, we're not going to
Look
see
at-
any. We're not going to see a safety car or anything. But
Oh.
he is. If we're seeing Andrew struggle like this, then
he is struggling to keep it in a straight line. If it goes DRS disabled lap 24, I'll count that as a win.
yeah. It's man, that is Andrew.
He's lost 2 seconds already in the space of a few corners. The gap was.
It was
30 seconds, I believe it was, when he came in. The
Yeah,
transit time here is about 18 with a pit stop.
Yeah, so he'll be able to hold that position just fine. Also, look at this. Izzat right on the rear wing of Mackenzie. This is a battle for P2.
I wonder if Izzat maybe used a strategy where he actually made his car more in touch for the wet at the end, thinking it was going to be wet a lot earlier. So this has played right into his hands, and DRS should still be initiated, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had the marker.
Oh, Mackenzie's in.
Oh, did
He's got wing
Mackenzie?
damage.
Oh, so that must be why Izzat caught up to the rear of him so quickly, is the wing damage, unfortunately, there for Mackenzie. So that is going to promote Andrew Honda right now to a provisional podium. Of course, with Josh's penalty that still needs to be served.
Unless Albert can pull in 3.8 seconds.
Hey, I might not be looking at Albert there. I might be looking at Michael. I know in the Monday night U.S. regional at the beginning of the race, it was a very wet race, and Michael was without a doubt the fastest driver on the track. He was schooling everybody.
And then it dried up, and then he
Yep.
Well, we won't go there.
Yeah. Michael is very quick in the wet, and I think that this could be a good battle here for this 5th position.
I'm a little gobsmacked about something. I know Stin is disconnected, but his AI is still on track.
On the side.
Is it going to pit now? Yeah. Is it going to get in the pits? Yeah, no, the AI is usually pretty good with not actually
bottling it,
doing anything too reckless with their cars. So this will put Ken up to at least P12, which will be a little tough to swallow for him, I'm sure, but it's the kind of race where attrition really counts, but today everyone's actually managed to...
Oh, Mackenzie's around in the castle! Mackenzie
he is too.
In reverse.
So who's coming through? Faith's the next car, he's miles back, but that's probably more damage.
Yeah, he's missing half of his front wing there, so it has gone from bad to worse for Mackenzie Stewart as
it's the final lap, so I don't expect to see him come in again, especially considering the idea that he would lose. Oh, would he lose? No,
he might.
He'd lose to Faith.
I wonder if he would lose enough where Josh would get past him at that point. Although he might do that anyways, despite.
Well, let's have a look at the leaderboard. So if we look at the leader, Josh right now being 26, so you have to add 30 onto his 26, so it'll be 56 seconds. Yeah, he would be ahead of Mackenzie by a second at the moment, but if Mackenzie pits, then that will...
I mean, Mackenzie's not going to be as fast with that broken wing, so I'm sure that Josh is going to be able to keep that position in front of him.
So, yeah, so P7 for Josh, so that'll put Andrew to P4, P3, Albert to P4, Michael to P5. Oh, and Mackenzie's just grabbed the wall again, but I think that's the damage side already. So he'll get away with that, but yeah, Mackenzie, depends on what kind of pace Faith has on these tyres, if he could catch Mackenzie at the end of it. But oh, and speaking of which, he's actually gone off at 3. Or is that? Yeah, that's 3. He's gone for 3.
Struggling. Just struggling
Well, I'll
here the
tell you one
last
thing.
couple laps.
Driving an F1 car here is like driving an F2 car in the dry. It's just so understeery, so hard to turn in, and when you miss your braking marker by even the smallest amount, it's catastrophic in the way that the car just doesn't want to. The retardation of the car just doesn't want to get anywhere, and you just. I think I had about 3 or 4 incidences in yesterday's race just for that same instance. You just brake a little too late and it puts you in. So just keep an eye on Mackenzie here because. Managed to get through it this time. I think what I find is the curb in the castle section itself is quite nasty, actually.
Yeah, it's, I mean, nothing about the castle section is nice.
No, not really. Well, when you get, it's a kind of corner that if you nail it perfectly and you don't lose speed, it's such a rewarding feeling. But then, of course, when you nail the fence, it's like the worst experience ever. It's a real track. It's like a real driver's track, I believe. Like, this is why I rate Azerbaijan as one of my favourite street circuits, because it's a real driver's circuit.
Sorry, Harry just went around and put it in the fence.
Ooh. So that's promoted Zach Hockmere up to Hockmere?
Huckmeyer,
Hockmeyer, yeah, something like that. So he's up to now P10, so he's actually going to salvage a point. So Renault's are going to come away with 3 points this weekend. Looking more like 2 at this point, but yeah, Zach, who was unfortunate in the Monaco race to be kind of put out of commission by Albert when he had a rejoin mishap, it's kind of gone through. But I think Andrew. Oh, actually, hang on. There's another move. Ken's gone off at the. He's gone down the runoff area at 4.
And now he's doing a Ragunathan.
Yeah, Ragunathan. God, you're a lunatic.
Yeah. He's back and going though.
Here comes Andrew Lee down the main straight for the final lap.
That it is. Andrew Lee has put on an absolute clinic here today at Baku. He hasn't led every single lap this race, but he's done darn well close to it. Andrew Lee wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And now, Brett, we can go take a nap. We can go take a nap before P2 crosses the finish line here. But coming home in P2, an absolute brilliant drive for Izzat, making his way through up the field, brilliant pit stop decisions, and he is going to come home with great points today for Alfa Romeo as he crosses the line and goes P2.
Yeah, well done, Izzat.
Josh Banks is going to cross the line in P3, but he, of course, is going to have a 30-second time penalty applied to his race. So Andrew Honda is going to be the final podium position coming home P3. Albert Ramirez Garcia will... Michael Garone Jr. Yeah, Michael jumps up to what will be P4, so very nicely done for Michael. Albert Ramirez Garcia comes home. P6 on track, P5 is what it will be adjusted to. Ethan Lossing, I believe, will be the last driver that picks up the additional spot as he comes home. P7 should be promoted to P6.
Josh Banks will be P7.
Yeah, that will leave Josh for P7. Then Mackenzie Stewart, he brought it home. He got it over the line in P8. Faith will come home P9, and then we were waiting for Zach Hockmeyer to cross the finish line for the last points finishing driver.
Actually, we're waiting for Harry now, who...
True.
He was Harry. Actually, I will say for Harry, he was kind of like me this morning. He wasn't hungover, but it certainly sounded like he was. He had a bit of a rough day, so unfortunate that he still won't score any points. But he's a fighter. He'll come back for Canada. Your home Grand Prix, obviously. So.
It is. As we see Harry here, he crosses the finish line 11th. He might lose a position on that based on the 30-second time penalty. Of course, Ken Doyle and I can't remember who the last other driver was who finished in 12th. Stin, yes, you're right. So Kush gets driver of the day. Very, very well deserved for him. As it's amazing how it goes from a rainy race to a sunny podium celebration. Gotta love it. But once we get the results of the race, we can work on getting the top 3 into the party. I will do that here. So Andrew, Cush, and Honda. But Brett, you only got to really see half of the race. But I mean, it was a pretty entertaining second half of the race that we got to witness here today.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that kind of a lot of different variant strategies. Obviously, wing damage sort of played a part in different kind of aspects. For obviously for Ethan, he managed to kind of get away with his longer strategy. Faith, not as much, but is it playing the car to jump on the softs and get that ground up as much as humanly possible before he had to kind of, take the wets, and even on the wets, he was absolutely lightning bolt. He actually had a 3-second penalty as well, and Josh just had a 3-second penalty too. So, luckily for him, Mackenzie having his last few issues in that race has saved him from any further loss of position. So, yeah, so Josh, not a great strategy, obviously, to make the mistake to start on the wrong tyre, but obviously came back from a mishap to finish effectively P3. It will be P7 at the end of the race. I don't know who's doing the invites, but
I did send out the invites already to the three drivers. Um, let me see if let me try and do it again. We do have Mr. Andrew Lee. I guess as while we wait to see if the other two podium finishers join us, we'll start with you today. Today, Andrew. I mean, obviously qualifying. You started third on the grid, and maybe not the exact position that you would have wanted to start at, but you made quick work at the beginning of the race and built yourself up a very solid lead as the race went on. So walk us through, of course, your qualifying session, how that sort of wet to dry transition worked, and then ultimately your race here today.
Yeah, qualifying was pretty decent. The rain at the start did kind of throw me off a little bit. Had to make one or two little adjustments on the fly, which I didn't really want to, but I wanted to compromise just to make sure I had somewhat of a decent car. And yeah, it worked out well. In the end, obviously qualifying P3, which wasn't ideal. I would have liked to be on the front row, but to have the main rival right in front of me was a good thing. I could definitely fight from there, and I knew that. Then obviously the restart happened. I think that threw quite a few people off, to be honest. But yeah, once we eventually got going, it was a pretty good start. Got around Josh into turn one. I'm not too sure what the stewards are going to say after this race, because there's a few people who didn't start on what they qualified on, and if my memory's correct, that's a pretty hefty slap on the wrist. So we'll see what goes on there. But yeah, got around him pretty quickly, and then the main aim was just to stick with Albert, which I was able to do. Eventually decided that I wanted to get through, and yeah, after that I was just able to basically drive to a number. Albert made a mistake at one point out of turn two. I'm not sure if he's just lit up the rears and gone around or what's happened, but he's made a mistake. The gap was about 9-10, so he was probably pushing to try and keep it in DRS, and easy mistake to make. I've done it myself, so I know what that feels like, and commiserations to him, obviously, because he was very quick out there today. I felt like we would have actually had a pretty decent battle, to be honest, but yeah, sometimes things don't quite turn out as you would like. But no, after I got through on Albert, it was a fairly straightforward race. As I said, I was just running to a number, build up enough of a gap, so by the first round of stops on lap 7, lap 8, I think is when it all started, that I could come in, get a new set of boots on the car, come out, and I still had the lead, which obviously made my job a lot easier. And then yeah, was just able to drive away, keep setting consistently like low, mid, high 42s, and yeah, was just able to build up a pretty solid gap. The rain at the end was a bit sketchy, I must admit, particularly when I was actually out there on drives when everybody else pitted for inters. That was a little bit sketchy. That was probably, I don't know, I was driving around like Miss Daisy, to be honest. But it was alright. We got back around and yeah, finished the race off. Final 2-3 laps or whatever on inters. So yeah, pretty sweet race in general. Nothing really that I could say which I was unhappy about. A few little mistakes here and there, but mainly, I don't know, I was probably overdriving the car a little bit more than what I needed to, but, that's just me. So, you know, for better term, shut some people up. As, yeah, well, Brett would probably know in a little bit more detail than what you would, but I've been given a fair bit of shit over the past week about how quick I am, and I've basically done no laps for this race whatsoever, so that's, yeah, if people still want to sit there and talk about it, well, that's their problem, because I
Well,
could
it's
absolutely...
probably one of those ones, Andrew, where it's a bit of a Bottas thing. To whom it may concern, fuck you, sort of thing.
Yeah, well,
Um,
that's actually about right. I didn't want to swear, but yeah, now that you mention it, that's basically what I say to anyone who was watching that. I did 3 Grand Prix quali runs last night, no race runs. I've showed up and I've done what I always came to do.
well, look, I mean, I speak among the many who kind of, I'll be frank and real about it. It's deflating a little bit to know that you put so much effort in and then you come along and knock it down, but that's not your fault. That's you've put in the time, you've done all the hard yards, you copped the whack from everyone about the being on the pad and not giving it your all. You shut the critics up by getting on the wheel. You struggled a little bit to get into the momentum of it from the first start, but you kept in it. You've got your pace back. You've doubled your pace. Now everyone else just has to kind of step up and get their act together, because there's not really much else you can obviously do to handicap yourself anything more that obviously you shouldn't have to do. So they've got to step up. They've got to get their game on, because you know
Yeah, I mean,
you
like,
can't handicap people just because they've got a bit more time on their hands. I mean, when you compare
no, I
you to
mean,
me, that's obvious, because
hmm.
you've got all the time in the world. I have absolutely piss all, and that reflects. But you should never feel in a position where you're being scrutinised because you're quick and they're not. It's just the
Yeah,
way
but
it
I mean,
goes.
this is what I've said to so many people. It's, you know, if you actually looked when I'm online, 99% of the week, I'm actually on Gran Turismo practicing for FIA. So I don't really touch F1 that much anymore, besides league racing and a little bit of my team career mode. So, I'm just in a happy and comfortable place at the moment with the setup I've got. Obviously, the eSports guys have been a big help. Credit goes to them, obviously. But yeah, hopefully that performance will just shut a few people up and just make them realise that, look, doesn't matter what I do, this is how quick I am, and it's as simple as that.
Well
Yeah.
said, mate. Well said.
Yeah, well said. I think you did certainly put a big exclamation point on this race today. You didn't put a foot wrong here in today's race, Andrew, and a big congratulations to you on your victory here today.
Thank you very much.
We didn't end up getting any other of the podium finishers into the party, Brett, so I think this is probably a pretty good spot to wrap it up. What do you say?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything much else to say. I mean, it was like you say. I saw a little bit of the race start from where I was, and it was a very interesting display. Of course, like Andrew said, the race restart obviously would have knocked a few teeth around, especially given that one driver decided that they weren't going to actually contest the restart, which does happen from time to time. You do get the odd occasional person deciding, nah, it's not worth it, sort of thing. If, like I said, if they'd waited 20 minutes, I might have actually got in the race, but nah, shit happens like that. But no, yeah, the second half of the race was really interesting. Different strategies, different playing points. Great points for Alfa Romeo. Obviously, completely not on the bias train here, but we'll take them as we can get them, and hopefully, come Canada, fingers crossed that we can have some good racing, and fingers crossed I can get some more points.
Yeah, of course. So, Yeah, this we'll wrap it up here then. So make sure to tune in. This has been, of course, Translation Esports Tier 1 no assist coverage here from Azerbaijan. Next weekend in the National Series, we head to, of course, the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in beautiful Montreal. So make sure to tune in for that. Our regional series throughout the week on Sunday night and Monday night in the Americas runs at Canada, and then later in the week on Tuesday and Wednesday for the European regionals as we head into the weekend nationals coverage. So make sure you tune in for all of that action.
Oh, and just a quick thing, the Oceania regionals, not so much on the Sunday side, but we've opened up a Saturday division, and it's looking really strong, and we may see a first race next weekend, next Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. New Zealand Daylight Time at the French Grand Prix.
Well, that is very exciting news, and hopefully that does get up and running. It'll be nice to see the Oceania numbers start to come back up. So again, if you are interested in joining into that regional series, then there is a link to the main Discord on this broadcast. You can join in through there, and we'll redirect you to the right place. But yeah, if you're interested in participating, of course, shoot us a line. We'd be happy to have you.
And I've also got my Canadian accent ready for commentary for Tier 1 assists.
Oh boy. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that next weekend. Then that's definitely one that I've had circled on the calendar for a while. So, on behalf of myself and Brett, also thank you for joining in the comm box today. It was it's always nice to not have to do solo comms, even if I did have to do it for part of the race. It was nice to have you join. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, no, it was alright. Just figured I'd contribute since I couldn't race.
But thank you for tuning in. On behalf of Brett and myself, I will speak to you next week. Brett will speak to you next week for, of course, our assist tier, which he normally commentates in. So thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week.